Culture. The values, norms, and material good characteristic of a given group, like the concept of society. The notion of a culture is widely used in sociology and the other social sciences. Culture is one of the most distinctive properties of human social association. Values. Ideas held by individuals. Value is desirable, proper, good, and bad. What individual value is strongly influenced by the specific culture in which they happen to live. Norms. Rules of conduct that specify appropriate behavior in a given range of social situations. A norm either prescribes a given type of behavior or forbids it. All human groups follow definite norms, which are always backed by sanctions of one kind or another, varying from informal disapproval to physical punishment. Material goods. The physical objects that a society creates, which influence the ways in which people live. Culture refers to the ways of life of individual members or groups within a society, how they dress, marriage customs and family life, their patterns, work, religious ceremonies, and leisure pursuits. Society. A group of people who live in a particular territory are subject to a common system of political authority and are aware of having a distinct identity from other groups. Some societies, like hunting and gathering societies, are small, numbering no more than a few dozen people. Others are large, numbering millions. Modern Chinese society, for instance, had a population of more than a billion people. Cultural turn. Sociology's recent emphasis on the importance of understanding the role of cultural in daily life. Sociobiology. An approach that attempts to explain the behavior of both animals and human beings in terms of biological principles. Instincts. Fixed patterns of behavior that have genetic origins and that appear in all normal animals within a given species. Subcultures. Values and norms distinct from those of the majority, held by a group within a wider society. Assimilation. The acceptance of a minority group by a majority population, in which the new group takes on the values and norms of the dominant culture. Multiculturalism. Ethnic groups exist separately and share equally in economic and political life. Ethnocentrism. the tendency to look at other cultures through the eyes of one's own culture and thereby misrepresent them. Cultural relativism. The practice of judging a society by its own standards. Cultural universals. Values are modes of behavior shared by all human cultures. Language. The primary vehicle of meaning and communication in a society. Language is a system of symbols that represent objects and abstract thoughts. Marriage. A socially approved sexual relationship between two individuals. Marriage almost always involves two persons of opposite sexes, but in some cultures, types of homosexual marriage are tolerated. Marriage normally forms the basis of a family of procreation, that is, it is expected that the married couple will produce and bring up children. Some societies permit polygamy, in which an individual may have several spouses at the same time. Linguistic relativity hypothesis. A hypothesis based on the theories of Sapir and Whorf that perceptions are relative to language. Signifier. Any vehicle of meaning and communication. Semiotics. The study of the ways in which non-linguistic phenomenon can generate meaning, as in the example of a traffic light. Hunting and gathering societies. Societies whose mode of subsistence is gained from hunting animals, fishing and gathering edible plants. Pastoral societies. Societies whose subsistence derives from the rearing of domesticated animals. Agrarian societies. Societies whose means of subsistence are based on agricultural production. Industrialization. The process of the machine production of goods. Industrialized societies. Strongly developed nation-states in which the majority of the population work in factories or offices rather than in agriculture, and most people live in urban areas. Nation. Colonialism. the process whereby Western nations establish their rule in parts of the world away from their home territories. Developing world. The less developed societies, in which industrial production is either virtually non-existent or only developed to a limited degree. The majority of the world's population live in less developed countries. Third world. A term used during the Cold War to describe developing nations. First world. The group of nation-states that possesses mature industrialized economies based on capitalistic production. Second world. Before 1989 democracy movements, this included the industrialized communist societies of Eastern Europe and the Soviet Union. Newly industrialized economies. Developing countries that over the past 2 or 3 decades have begun to develop a strong industrial base, such as Singapore and Hong Kong. Nationalism. A set of beliefs and symbols expressing identification with a national community.